Hey everyone, Stephanie Robilio here, licensed clinical social worker, published author, and the chief clinical officer at Agape Behavioral Healthcare, and you are tuning into the Stephanie Robilio podcast, your go-to resource for transforming your mental health and overall wellness. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I trust you all are doing amazing and enjoying the last moments of this year. I know I certainly am, as I am literally about 4 to 6 weeks away from this little amazing, brilliant girl arriving. It still feels so surreal, you guys. Like in 4 to 6 weeks, my life is going to change forever. I'm so excited and just kind of in this place of wonder and curiosity. And it's really amazing. So anyways, stay tuned because there'll be more details on all of that in this new chapter that's coming up for me. Today, I want to talk to you about empowered choices. I think this is something that we need to talk more about. Most of us go through life and we are stuck on autopilot, living out of fear, living in a place of fear. And as a result, it blocks us from being able to make empowered choices. And you can probably sit here and define empowered choices in many ways. But the way I choose to look at this is really getting to a place in your life where you feel so good with who you are and where you're at, and your confidence is peaking to the point that you feel safe to make an empowered choice, which means making a choice that serves and supports you, not a choice that you feel like you have to make, not a choice out of obligation, not a choice because you think it's what you should be doing. Those should statements are tricky and they creep up on us. But it's really about making decisions that you want to make and trusting yourself when you make a decision, not spending too much time questioning, was it a good decision or was it a bad decision? In my opinion, there's no such thing as a good decision or a bad decision. We have the opportunity to make a decision, and all that does is lead to a series of possibilities. And sure, sometimes are we going to make a decision and look back and go, dang, why'd I choose that? Yeah, of course, it happens all the time. But as long as you are maintaining awareness, choosing to self-reflect, choosing to learn from every experience, every decision you make, and then doing better, right? We can't do better until we know better. So it serves us absolutely no good to sit there and be the critic, be our own worst enemy, and beat ourselves up for making a choice. But we can go on and on about that, right? That's like a whole other episode. Today, I really want to talk about the art of saying no. I think that as it relates to being empowered, we have to give ourselves permission to say no. It can be so hard to say no. If you're anything like me, there was a time in my life, and it still happens, full transparency, where I feel like I have to provide an explanation as to why I don't want to do something. But that is not the case. We are allowed to say no. We don't owe anybody an explanation. And if something doesn't feel good to us, it's okay to say no, no matter what it is. And so I want you all to really stay with me as we dive into this, because I truly believe if you can get to that point in your journey where you feel safe and you feel confident to say no to people and situations that don't serve you, it's truly a skill that if you master this, your life will transform. Your life will transform for a lot of reasons. So let's start just by understanding the power of no, right? If we can acknowledge that by saying no is truly a fundamental part of having healthy boundaries, we're going to change our lives. It's one thing to go through life understanding what boundaries are, and it's entirely different to give yourself permission to know that saying no is part of having a healthy boundary. We can't say yes to everyone. We can't be available for everyone. We can't say yes to everything. We can't be available for everything. If we choose to live in a way that we just say yes, 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 we will inevitably go through our days with an empty cup. We're going to feel burnt out, and this leads to bitterness. It can lead to resentments. It can even lead to bigger things like anger and anxiety and depression and all kinds of things. So we don't want to fall into that, right? So many of us struggle with saying no because we don't want to disappoint others and the fear of conflict. I know for me, there was a time that the thought of having conflict with somebody literally made my body feel so unsafe. And it took a lot of looking in and a lot of self-help and a lot of inner work to realize that Just because we set a boundary and say no does not mean that's going to lead to conflict. Our mind will trick us into thinking that saying no means conflict, but it doesn't. It doesn't at all. It's not about being rude. It's not selfish. It's really about protecting your time, protecting your energy, protecting your mental health, and your overall well-being. When you say no to what doesn't serve you, you're actually saying yes to yourself. And I think that that's really a key point that I want to highlight. Every time you say no, you pour a little bit more into your own cup, as opposed to always saying yes. You just drain yourself, drain yourself, drain yourself. Now, there's a difference. If you want to say yes to something, say yes. I have committed over the last few years, and I'm really getting good at it. I always say now, if it's not a clear yes, it's a no. So what that means is if someone says, hey, Steph, do you want to grab coffee? If a friend wants to grab coffee, if I'm not like, heck yes, and I'm even kind of like, I'm not feeling it, then it's just a no. If I'm invited to something, if it's not a clear yes for me, then I say no. If there's something to do with my work life, if it's not a clear yes for me, then it's a no. Like, it has to come down to that, because if not, we will end up neglecting our own needs by saying yes to every single thing that we're invited to. And we are not obligated to say yes to anything. And so remember that it's really not about being selfish or rude, even though in the beginning it can 100% feel that way, but it's really about pouring into yourself. So remember, every time you say no to what doesn't serve you, you are saying yes to yourself. It's like this little beautiful glimmer, this amazing little love note that's going to take you really far. And it's also about making space for opportunities and relationships that align with your values and goals. If we go through life and we just continue to say yes, 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 yes to things that we're not interested in, not only do we lower our vibration, but because we're lowering our vibration, we're blocking ourselves from who and what is meant for us. We're blocking ourselves from the opportunities that are available to us because we're still saying yes and entertaining things that we're not interested in. So we block ourselves, and beyond block ourselves, we just burn ourselves out, like I mentioned before. And I've been there, man. To be in a place of burnout, it's pure exhaustion. It's a really, really uncomfortable feeling. But at some point, we have to take an honest look at ourselves and ask, how are we contributing to our own problems? How are we contributing to our own issues? How are we contributing to our exhaustion, to our feelings of defeat, to burnout, right? It's way too easy to blame people, places, and things. It's just the easiest thing to do. And it's the most empowered thing to do, to take full ownership of your life and hold yourself accountable and know that you are the only one responsible for how you show up, how you feel, and what you say yes to and what you say no to. It's so important to get to that space in your journey. And when you are affirming no to the things that don't serve you, imagine it to be like an affirmation, right? To affirm no, meaning I am no longer available for who and what doesn't serve me. I am no longer available for who and what doesn't serve me. I invite you to say that right now. I am no longer available for who and what no longer serves me. When you can affirm that and really integrate it into your life and embody the feeling of that empowerment, you are going to set yourself up to feel really, really good. It's like an automatic reset for your energy. It recalibrates you. And so that leads to many benefits, right? If we're resetting our energy and we're recalibrating ourselves, we're going to really get to a place where we're feeling good and experiencing the benefits of this boundary. And it's things like when you say no, one, it can help you prioritize your own well-being, right? It prevents you from overcommitting to things that you don't want to do or just putting way too much on your plate, which again leads to burnout. And then when you're clear about your limits, you're better able to focus on the things in your life that actually make you feel good, the things in your life that actually enhance your life. Because if you have clarity, your mind is not filled with all these tabs that are open. If you've been connected with me, you know I often talk about a really good exercise is to imagine your mind to be a web browser and write down every single tab that's open. Write down all the things that you're saying yes to that you really want to say no to. And then give yourself permission to say no. Close the tab out. That's your right to do that, right? And again, it's going to lead to building your confidence. And this is something that I think is the most important. When we say no because we truly did not want to do something, we feel so good because we took care of ourselves. We made ourselves a priority. And every time you do that, imagine the meter of self-respect is just going to go up a little more, simply because you care so much about how the way you feel, and you're prioritizing your needs, and you're taking ownership over what you need in that moment or in that day or in that week or that month, whatever it might be, right? There's something really powerful about that. As opposed to saying yes, showing up for the thing that you didn't want to do, and then later being mad about it, although you put yourself in that situation, and now you go to bed at night and it's just that same old rut of like, I did it again, I failed, I suck at this, I'm not good at this, or whatever your narrative is. We all have one, let's be real. But that falls on us. We can't say yes to things and then be mad about it, right? Like, just saying it makes me laugh, and I'm laughing because I've been there, but we can't say yes and then be mad about it. It's like, if you said yes, then show up and enjoy it and own it. And if you don't want to be there, then again, exercise the art of saying no. And in my opinion, and from my experience, when we have healthy boundaries, it also leads to really good, healthy relationships, because when you are showing up for a relationship, whether it's with your mom, your dad, your brother, your sister, your cousins, your friends, your coworkers, whoever it might be, your peers from school, when you are showing up, now you're showing up because you genuinely and authentically want to be there, as opposed to feeling like I'm here because I have to be, right? Nobody wants to do something that they don't want to do. It's not a good place to be. And, it can be hard. I get it. To go from always saying yes to suddenly say no. I'm not here to tell you just cut out your friends, cut out your family, say no to work things. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is have an honest check-in with yourself and get clear about how do you want to feel? And what areas of your life would you benefit from having some healthy boundaries? And how can it serve you to start saying no to some things so that you can create space for yourself, your own mental health, your well-being, right? How can you put yourself in a position to really prioritize your wants, your needs, and your desires? Understanding if you prioritize your wants, your needs, and your desires, you're going to put yourself on a path that's going to help you easily attract and manifest everything that you want. Because again, you're raising your vibration, you're recalibrating your energy, you're getting aligned with your highest self, you're living aligned with your highest self, right? As opposed to just that low vibrational, oh, poor me, my plate's so heavy, the weight of the world's on my back, I have to say yes to this and yes to that. And it's like, no, you don't, right? No, you don't. So again, that accountability factor. So I want to offer some practical tips to help you navigate having to say no, and doing so with grace and compassion in some situations, and especially confidence. Because again, if you're anything like me, there was a time when if I really wanted to say no and I would go to say no, I could actually feel my whole body change, and not in a good way. My palms would feel sweaty, my heart would start to race. I just did not feel good in my body. And again, that's because I was perceiving having to say no as a threat. I thought that it was going to lead to conflict or confrontation in some way, and it doesn't, right? So again, don't let your mind trick you, because the mind is tricky, and we know that by thought alone we can activate a fear response, and that's what leads to the fast heart and the sweaty palms and that weird feeling in your stomach and maybe that knot in your throat and the tense neck and the tight jaw. That's where all that comes from, because if you perceive it to be a threat, then your body's preparing you for a threat. But think about it. Is telling someone no really a threat? No, not at all. It might disappoint them. They might feel unhappy. They might be bummed out, but that has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with you. And it's certainly not a threat. That's their own stuff to navigate, right? So some simple tips when you're going to say no is be clear and direct. When you go to say no, you can be straightforward, but you don't have to be, a jerk about it. You can still say no with love. And that might look something like, I appreciate the offer, but I need to decline at this time. Or thank you for the invite, but I don't have space to do that tonight. Something simple, but you see how you're being clear and direct, and it's not rude. You're not coming off as a jerk. You don't sound mean. You're truly saying, thank you for the invitation. I just don't have space to do that. That's nothing wrong with that. That's very loving, very kind. And most people, they're going to accept that. How could they not? And that's just being clear in your communication, which is really important, because when you start to say things like, hey, thanks for the invite, I'm not sure, but maybe I'll text you later. Now you've left it kind of open. And that can be really, that's a weird place to be. I've been there where I used to communicate not in a way that was very clear, again, out of fear. And I realized it's just so much easier to just be clear and to the point. So again, when you offer clear communication, it avoids misunderstanding and it sets firm boundaries, which is good for you and good for the other person. So be clear and direct, and then offer an alternative if possible and if you want to. So that could be something like, let's say you're in school and someone wants you to work with them on a project, or maybe they have a house project and they're like, hey, do you want to come over and help me with this? You could say something like, I can't help with this particular project, but I'd love to help you in the future. Keep me posted if you ever do this again. So that's in a situation where maybe you actually are interested in what they're inviting you to. You just don't have space for it at this time. So it's okay to say, hey, I can't help you with this. Keep me in mind for the future. Perfect, clear, honest communication. And then practicing self-compassion. So this is really, really big, because when we say no, it's very easy to feel guilty. Feeling guilty is natural, but don't let it derail you from your decision. Do not let the guilt make you say yes. When we say yes out of guilt, we are being so inauthentic, and it's not good for you, and it's not good for the other person or the people involved. And again, this can lead to bitterness, to anger, to resentment, and it's just a real messy place to end up, especially if you do it over and over. So have self-compassion, which could be, okay, I told this person no, I feel bad for it, and I know it doesn't mean I'm bad. I just feel bad, right? And I'm allowed to feel guilt, but I'm not going to sit in the feeling of guilt for too long. Acknowledge yourself, validate yourself, have compassion for yourself, and move on as quickly as possible. And then another thing you could do, which could be really helpful, I've done this in my own life, and I've actually done this with a lot of clients, especially in family work, is rehearse your responses. So if you find it difficult to say no, you could practice your response in advance. And this really does help you feel more confident and prepared for the real situation. So no matter if it's having to set a boundary with a loved one, with a husband, a wife, a boyfriend, a partner, a friend, whoever it might be, work, give yourself the space to practice your response ahead of time, right? Rehearse it. When you do this, there's something really powerful, especially when you do it out loud. It's almost like you're training your brain and body that it's safe to say what you're about to say. And then when it's time to say it, it comes out, it just comes out, right? Maybe doesn't sound perfect. Maybe you still feel a little scared in your body. Again, all of that's normal. All of it's natural. All of it's okay. But the point is that you showed up for yourself, right? When you show up for yourself, again, it leads to confidence. It's a reflection of the self-love you have. There's nothing bad that can come from showing up for yourself. So remember, saying no really is about putting yourself number one. And I'm here to remind you that you are so worthy and deserving of feeling your best. This is your life. You get to experience it how you want to experience it. And it's your responsibility to set yourself up to feel good, to set yourself up for success. Do not fall into the traps of feeling like you have to please everyone, say yes to everything. You are allowed to protect your time, preserve your energy, and pour into your own mental health and your overall well-being. And I hope that you will do that. I really hope that you will do that. And I also hope that you will join me in just staying committed to making empowered choices, because once you get on the path of empowerment, it is a path that feels so good. It feels so good. And empowerment truly does lead to not only really unlearning all those learned responses that landed us in the place of feeling like we have to say yes, but it also sets us on the path to being able to attract what it is that we want for ourselves. It's one thing to go through life dreaming of everything you want, and it's entirely different to not just dream it, but claim it and take action. So here's to dreaming, here's to claiming, and here's to taking action. Until next time, I love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in. Thank Thank you so much for being here with me today. If you found today's episode to be insightful and inspiring, drop me a review so together we can help the next person, and come connect with me on social at Stephanie Robilio and find all of my books on Amazon. Until the next episode, stay mindful and always remember the power that lives inside of you.